Hello friends, this is Ganesh and the video number 2. In this video, I'm going to explain about the base technical area or design of an OData service or OData service project. So, quick recap of the first video. So, OData service is a kind of a medium or the way of communication to receive or send the business data to the UI application. So in this, we need to design the OData service or the project. So what kind of data or how the data design should be, like they want a header, item, master data. So for the header, what are the fields required? For the item, what are the fields required? So those kind of designs we have to do it in the OData service. In the last video, I showed you how to create manually the entity type and entity sets. Generally, we won't do it manually. Instead of we are going to be use a structure, because normally in a business scenario, if you take any real-time business scenario, we need to send some set of entities sets, or in entity set we have n number of entity types or a structure, and the structure has n number of fields. Okay, so basically I'm sending an entity set with almost 25 to 30 fields or 100 fields. So it's very difficult to create everything manually, one by one, entity by entity is very difficult. So for your information, the hierarchy is, I have a entity set. Entity set should be created on top of entity type. Entity type is a structure, and inside the entity type we have an entity. So entity is nothing but a field by field. Each field we call it as entity. So every entity should be created with some technical terms. Normally we call it as once again. Yes, it's technical aspects. It's nothing but data element. What is the length? What is the decimal places? So those informations we are going to create. There's a technical aspects. We call it as an above, right? So that we are going to create for each entity. So that is a hierarchy. Entity set on top, and then entity type, and then entity. Okay. So this normally we are going to create with the help of some standard structure or custom structure, or while importing a function model, it will automatically create the entity type, depends on the import and export parameters. Everything we'll see later. But the main idea is what is the model, how we are going to design it. Okay, we have a lot of ways to design it. Now we are going to start a very basic, because once you understand this, then it's very simple to import our entity with the help of any function model or any other source. Okay, so in this video I'm going to explain about model, entity type, entity sets, and some classes also. So every OData you're going to generate the OData or generate the OData project that will create two different set of classes, model product class and data product class. Okay, so those we are going to see in this video along with some examples. So here, this is the basic design. So I have OData service, then I'm going to create a structure. So in structure has a number of fields. Okay, it may be a reference structure, or manually you can create it. Structure, and after that, on top of the entity type, we are going to create an entity set. Okay, this is actually an entity type. Okay, let me change this. This is actually entity type. Okay. So this is entity type. So it has a structure. So inside a structure, you can have every fields that is called an entity. So each entity, and each entity has a technical aspects. And on top of an entity type, you're going to create an entity set. So this in a bracket I give as a reference. Okay, easy for understanding. This is kind of internal table. So if you're going to create an internal table, basically it should refer a structure. So it can have more than one number of records, one record or multiple records. And this is going to be accessed by the UI application. So what the entity sets, it has a type structure, and the structure has an entity, and each field there are some values. The UI application is going to be retrieve those information. Okay, so this is the basic idea of OData service model. So how you're going to design it, and there are some combinations like n number, n to 1, 1 to 1. So one now n number of entity types, n number of entity set. So those everything we'll see in the following videos. And the next main part was the class. So um, in the first video I mentioned there is OData service is a kind of a medium, same like IDOC, but how the data is populating, there are some ways, like we have function modules, we have serious views with the help, or just a custom program, you're going to populate the informations to the your OData service. So for that, the first option for to write a code for the OData service, once you create a OData, once you activate or generate a OData service, system creates two type of class. One is base class, another one is extension class. Okay, and in that we have two more definitions. So here what happens, it will create model provider class 1 and data provider class. So shortly we call it MPC and DPC. Okay, so one base class and one extension class. So it will create two base classes, one is for MPC, another one is for DPC. Same way it creates two extension classes, one is for MPC and one is for DPC extension. As I mentioned in the first video, MPC is nothing but for to change the existing structure of your OData. So it's very rarely we are using the MPC classes, MPC extension class, and DPC is nothing but data protocols. Normally we're going to write a code. We are going to populate the value to my entity sets. For that we need going to use DPC. So mostly 80% of the time you're going to deal with the DPC classes only. So in this we have two classes, base and extension. You can't do anything with base. Okay, it's a base class. So in extension class you are able to redefine the method. So in which method you want to write a code, you have some set of methods. I will show you in which method you want to do what, you have to redefine it. Maybe if you remember in the first video I mentioned there is an error is coming in from the SAP gateway client while executing the OData URL, because it shows the method is not implemented. Every entity set, whatever entity set you are creating, every entity set, system generates one DPC and one MPC class. Okay, so for that, if you want to redefine, if you want to write any code, you need to redefine the method. Then only you are able to write whatever informations you want. You are able to populate the value to the entity set. Entity set is nothing but a output of an OData service. Okay, what is the final output of OData service? Is nothing but entity set. It may be one or many entity sets. Okay, so finally it just create an XML file with the data and it can be accessed by your application. So hope you are able to follow this level, and today I'll show you everything in the system for better understanding. Okay, let me get into my system. Okay, so go to SEGW. Hope you might aware or remember these transactions. SEGW is nothing but SAP Gateway Service Builder. You got to create a project service or data service project over here. And in the last video, I have used one OData. Hopefully, I'm going to use the same one. Sometimes I may create the new. So in this OData, in this project, I'm going to extend it. The last video I have created this. I have created the data model manually, and manually I created the entity type, material structure, and again properties itself I created manually. So one by one. Okay, so properties is nothing but just double click, it'll display in the right hand side. These are entity. Okay, so these are entity. Material is one entity, and this entity technical aspect is string and maximum length, what is the length, what is the data type, so everything is displayed over here. And material type, so you have an option called string maximum length. So these are two entity, it's coming under one entity type called material structure. And on top of entity type I have created the entity set. Okay, just double click, it will show you the entity set name. It's created with the help of or on top of material structure. For reference I can say material structure. So this entity is nothing but internal table. It can hold more than one record for the entity, material and material type. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is there is an option. If you go to entity type property, go to the entity, you have an option to modify or refer the above data element. So go here. So for example, the material number, right? go here. So it's called ABAP type editor, and here you can change as explicit assignment, and here you can change this is a data element and the MATNR. Okay, but there is an option of warning message if you use any ABAP data element. It's a warning, it's not an error. You can still continue with this warning message. So warning message is potential loss of data if you use any data element of BAP. It will show you a potential loss of data because we use a more restrictive, because it's a data element and data element is referred as a domain, and domain has some restricted values. Okay, again it's a warning message. If you are okay, you can continue. As I mentioned, this message after generate any change, you have to regenerate your project, and once you generate the runtime object, it should be green and yellow is acceptable, no a red color. If there is any error, you have to correct it before executing or before submitting your URL to your UI application team. Okay, so this is one aspect where you can specify the ABAP data element for your entity. Okay, so entity is ready, entity type is ready, and entity set is ready. Now, once you generate, first time once you generate, it creates the classes. Those classes are coming under the folder called runtime aircraft. Okay, so sorry, runtime artifacts. Okay, so here runtime artifacts. So here it just created the base class. As I showed you, the base class names are end with underscore MPC underscore DPC, and extensions are end with underscore MPC underscore EXT and underscore DPC underscore EXT. Okay, so that is coming under this runtime artifacts. So here it have DPC, DPC extension, and here MPC, and here MPC extension. And this is model, this is service. So now if I open this DPC, I already mentioned that we mostly work with DPC, and this is a base class, this is an extension class. It has predefined methods, and the method has some codes, some methods are empty. Okay, so it's implemented in the class name. That's fine for me. So these are some standard codes are available. You're not able to modify it over here. So if you want to do anything on it, so you have to do with the you have to go with the extension class. Okay, and especially for your own entity, you can't do everything. Okay, so how to find my own entity? I know my entity name, so I need to go by my entity name. Entity name is material, start with material. So what I have to do is I have to go with DPC extension class. Okay, just go with DPC extension class, and here you can expand the method instead of search one by one. It's normally the down. Maybe you can come down. So here it is. MAT underscore entity set. So this is the my entity set name. I think I closed that window. Let me open it just for your reference. What is my entity set name? It's coming under data model, entity set. Okay, mat underscore entity set. So here it is, mat underscore entity set. So it creates almost 5 different methods. We'll see one by one: create, delete, get entity, update, get entity set. I'm looking for get entity set. I'm going to just populate the data for my entity. So I'm going to use this method for that. Okay. So this is a way to find your method. Another way is just expand here, inherited methods. These are some standard methods over there. Okay, so if you want, you can just do a redefinition. Otherwise, here, 1 second, these are the methods. Okay, so now you can use directly because these are the methods is created for the extension class. What you have to do is you have to redefine it. Okay, so if you double click, I just go and get inside. It's implemented in the class CGL1. So here it is. Okay, this is the entity set class. So normally what you're going to do is I'm going to redefine it. Right click, and there is an option called redefine. Clear? Now, before this redefine, let me do one thing. I'm not saving the option. I'll show you the issue or error which I'm getting in the SAP Gateway client if the method is not implemented. Okay, for that I need to go to SAP Gateway client. So more system new GUI window, and you are aware of this maintain service transaction code as well. Over here I need to find out this, the service is already added. So maybe if you're not seeing my first window, so please, the first video, please just go and check it. And here just click SAP Gateway Client and get the entity sets over here, mat entity set, and execute. So here you will get an error, not implemented error. So it shows very clearly. So the method entity set get entity set is not implemented in the data provider class. Okay, so what I had to do was go here, go to your DPC extension class. Here, yes, go to DPC extension class and go to the method get entity set method and redefine it. Okay, it's redefined. Actually I didn't activate it, that's why it's inactive, that's why there is an error comes here. So if I right click, I done already, so right click, you have to do redefine. So once you redefine, the another folder will create with the name redefinitions, and the method name is moved from inherited methods to redefinitions folder. Okay, just double click, it will give the same editor, normal SE24 editor. So I don't want any signature now. And if you want to get anything from the superclass, you can use it. By default you will get this option. If not, just leave it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write the code over here. Okay, so simply I'm going to manually create some data. So I need some work area. So work area for my entity set. So here, if you go to the signature, go to the entity set. This is the AT underscore entity set is the another internal table which receives the data from any of the source, whether direct select query or it may be a function module, whatever it is. Finally, this ET underscore entity set to be filled from your DPC extension class method. So there are two importing parameter. One is entity set, one is response context. Only this needs to be filled with the data. So I'm going to open this. It's pointing to a TT material structure. Few technical things to be understand before writing the code. And TT material structure, it's actually defined or declared over here with the type of another standard table of TS. These are automatically generated. Okay, and this is the two fields in my entity sets. You know the hierarchy, right? Entity set, entity type, and entity. So two entities are here, material num and material type. Here what needs to be understand is, let me open my service builder. So here if you go to entity type material structure, and you have two properties, material and material type. The first column called name, this is going to be visual or used by UI application. So the UI application team is going to visible only this material and material type, and the people who are working in the backend, maybe the ABAP people, you're going to use this as your source of the field. You're going to fill this information from your DPC extension class method. Okay, so two things you have to remember. This is for UI people and this is for ABAP who are going to write a code to fill the information. So material underscore num, mat underscore num, mat underscore type. Now if you come and see the declaration, mat underscore num and mat underscore type is the fields for your ET underscore entity set internal table. So go back, go back and go back. Yes, so here this is the one. So I need I'm going to declare a simple work area, entity set like line of et underscore entity set. Okay, so I'm going to enter entity set material num. So this is just a manual work. So set material type is equal to FERT. I'm going to fill only two data, append WAEND entity set to ET entity set. Okay, so I'm not going to use clear and all because anyway I'm going to use only two records. Okay, 1 2 3 and 1 2 4, nothing big, and activated. So I'm activating the class. Here it is. Okay. So this is actually outside of your SCGW. So once you did any change in the class, you don't want to regenerate your SCGW objects. So just activate your class. That is enough. Now go to SAP Gateway Client and try to execute it. So it's 200 green. Okay. Now you're able to see the content. Here it is 1 2 3 and FERT and 1 2 4 FERT. As I mentioned, this is from the first column of your entity type, material and material type. This is for your UI application team. They are going to use only this. Okay, and if they want to see the metadata. So you know about metadata, right? So metadata is nothing but they want to see the technical details. So what is the data type of this field? What is there any restriction? Which fields are key fields? So generally UI people wants to see the metadata before they are going to map or plug in with your OData service. So for that, what you're going to do was, so here I'm going to use the metadata for my entity for my OData service. So the format is metadata. Okay, so no question mark, uh, slash dollar metadata. So here it shows, I'm sorry, something is missing. One second, slash is missing. Slash dollar metadata. Here it shows what is the property name. So this is a key field. So material is a key field. If it is more than one, it will display all the key fields over here. And this tag is going to display the key field. And this is material. Is it filterable, sortable, updatable? Everything is false. This is coming from your entity. So what you design in the entity properties, those are coming here. Okay, what is the label you given and unique code, maximum length, everything. And this is a data type. Okay, and this is a data type for material type, and it should be 4. Clear? So this is a way to see the metadata of your entity set or your OData service. Okay. So here, this is one material structure. So it shows I have only one as of now, one entity type and one entity set. So it shows only one. If it is more, it will display everything over here. Okay. So this is one part. And if I go to entity set, it has, excuse me, it has only two data. Now I'm going to write a small simple select query in my DPC extension class along with the existing record. We'll see how it reflects. So this is a place where you can write the code or directly you can write the code to fetch the information directly from your database. Into table at et underscore sorry et underscore entity set. Okay, so we have many options. You can use a function module, you can have a CDS, whatever it is, but this is a place to get the information and fill it your entity set. So now go to client and execute it again. You will get a lot of data. See the scroll bar is it's very tiny now. So you can see that actual data from the database table, not the hard-coded one, material type. Okay. And another interesting part is if you want to debug, it's very simple. So you have to keep the external breakpoint. Suppose if you want to see what is happening, I'm executing the SAP gateway client, but it's not giving a data, but it's giving an error. Sometimes the conversion error. So I want to debug it. So keep a breakpoint wherever you want, a session, the external breakpoint. Okay, external breakpoint over here, and execute your gateway client URL. So now it comes and stops here. Okay, so you can see, okay, this is the way it just fill the data. One information, we have some configurations to enable so now 1577 records enable that debugging option. It's not, but sometimes if you work with a client, if then there is some configuration needs to be in place to enable the debugging option for your user level, even for the system level as well. Okay, so if you keep the external breakpoint and from gateway it's not stopping, please check with the basis. They will just able to help you to set the particular profile or parameter. Just execute again, it will come and stops here. Okay, so this is one, and another one is suppose let me do this one again. Gateway. So format. So here suppose entity set. So here there is one format you can able to change. Suppose I want to see, these are a lot of XML format. I want to see the same with the JSON format. Okay, so here dollar is missing. So colon question mark dollar format equal to JSON and enter or execute. It will display the content. Okay, because my breakpoint is still valid. Display the content in the JSON format. It's very easy. Suppose if you have 25 fields, um, normally for developing or testing purpose, JSON is a good format to just check what is the output is coming from your each entity set or each entity type or each entity. Okay, so this is one of the format you can do it. So this you need to just make a note of it. It will be very useful, and especially for testing, and we have to use some input parameters, filter options, everything with this URL only. So hope this might be useful. Just play around, and if you have any questions, please let me know. We'll see you in the next video. Thank you.